If you've been on social media lately, or you're just a fan of female artists in general, there is something that you have probably noticed. It's subtle, but it's there, trust me. Body ideals are getting slimmer and slimmer again. And it's almost like we're back in the early 2000s when everyone was chasing that very slim look. And it's not just women too, men are also slimming down as well, but it's definitely more noticeable with women, especially since we're coming out of an era like the BBL era that just had a lot of curves and where curves were such a big deal. So it's very noticeable to see that shift from BBL to what it is now. Lately, artists are starting to look different and fashion is edging towards smaller sizes. And even the comment section is becoming a place reminding us of what we should look like. A while ago, I was on Instagram just scrolling through my feed and I saw a photo of Megan Thee Stallion. I'm sure you know who she is. I've talked about her a little bit on this channel. I low-key want to make a full video on her, but that's besides the point. But anyway, she posted a photo of herself looking very good, very scrumptious, and I saw a lot of comments of people praising how she looked, and one comment in particular said, "I wish I was rich and skinny like Megan Thee Stallion." And that comment was a top comment. It had quite a bit of likes. I don't know how many likes, but it had a lot. And since the comment had a lot of likes, I'm sure that's how a lot of people are feeling. On the other hand though, we do have people who are mad at celebrities like Megan for losing weight. I've seen a lot of comments. It's mostly by men, and they're the ones saying that Megan has lost her bunda, her booty, which is interesting to say. At first, I was just like, huh? Like, that's the first thing you notice. But to be fair, when she started her career, it was all about being a hot girl, twerking and stuff. So her butt was like a main focus of who she is. But still, I'm just like, kind of a weird comment to make, don't you think? But we'll talk about men commenting on women's butts later in the video because y'all are weird and y'all be doing it. But anyways, the moment that really inspired this video, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make this video because I've just been seeing this same discussion over and over and over again, is actually this photo I saw of Ice Spice. I saw it on Twitter and I didn't even recognize her in the photo at all, but mostly because she had a different color hair. She didn't have her regular ginger hair, she had black hair, a little short black wig on, and in the photo you couldn't really see her face, you could only see half of her face too. That's why I didn't recognize her immediately, but everyone in the comments had something to say about Ice Spice when they saw that photo. Some were hyping her up, saying she looks good, she looks healthy, like she's slim, like they want to be skinny like her. I saw people also talking about her butt, saying she lost her booty. Her booty made her career, so now she's gonna have no career because she has no booty. And some people just had mixed reactions to it. So everyone had something to say about Ice Spice's booty. Well, her new look. And I want to mention too that some people were saying that she's on ozempic to lose weight too. So we really don't know, but it's definitely interesting to see how one photo can trigger so much debate. But here's the thing about Megan, Ice Spice, and also other celebrities we'll talk about in today's video. This is not a coincidence at all. And this is definitely not the first time we've seen this happen. So today we're digging into why body standards keep shifting back and forth and how these changes aren't random, but actually driven by deeper cultural, historical, and economic influences. And more importantly, we're gonna look at what these constant changes do to you. Yes, you. So let's talk about these bumbleclad body standards and talk about whether we can start pushing back. Let's get into this video. Yeah. Before we discuss whether we can push back against these really annoying body ideals, you deserve to feel good in your body, and that's why I'm really excited to introduce today's sponsor, WeVibe. WeVibe is the global MVP of premium remote controlled intimacy. Whether you're in the same room as your partner or even miles apart, like even continents apart, WeVibe's toys help to keep the spark alive. And I also want to mention too that you do not need a partner to use their toys. You can use it alone, period. One of their most popular toys is the Sync O, and honestly it's not hard to see why. So with its unique C-shape and flexible design, the Sync O delivers simultaneous stimulation for you and your partner. And also it is hands-free, which is a great bonus because it can stay in place while you can just focus on having fun. So you can control the Sync O by using the buttons on the device, or you can just download the free WeVibe app where you can get it on your mobile phone. So if you are curious about trying out WeVibe's products, I suggest you check the link down below. And what's even better is that they have great deals on the website all year round. So if your pockets are a little slim during the holiday season, you can still treat yourself or treat someone special without breaking the bank. Thank you so much to WeVibe for sponsoring this portion of today's video. And now let's continue with this video, shall we? Why do body standards even matter in the first place? I mean, we see these trends change all the time and they seem like nothing more than aesthetics at first glance. But the reality is that these beauty standards impact us way more than we realize, and they go deeper than just looks. Body standards are not just about what's trendy or what looks good, they're tied deeply to our identity, our culture, and the forces around us that shape the way we perceive beauty. So before we get into this discussion about how 2000s thinness is making a comeback, let's talk about why body standards are even a hot topic to begin with. So I welcome you to part 1, why body standards matter. Let's get into it, yeah. So beauty standards have been a part of societal expectations since forever, since I was born, since before you were born. And this influences the way people, and especially women, let's keep it a stack, view themselves and view each other. And these standards are far from static. Every 2.5 seconds they're moving, they're shifting to something new, and that's why it's even more difficult to keep up with these standards because they're not static, they're always moving. With the explosion of social media, television, film, the pressure to conform to these beauty ideals has only grown more intense, impacting mental health in profound ways. The media, especially platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and reality television, portray unrealistic beauty ideals. We've seen it time and time again. Both Instagram and TikTok have their ways of promoting very, very beautiful people, very beautiful women. They be doing that. So definitely when you go on those platforms, make sure your For You page is goated, because mine's goated. I can tell you when I first went on it, it was not goated. And actually, I had a time when I was in high school where I actually deleted Instagram because I just did not like it. I was like, I keep seeing all these baddies. I'm tired of seeing like, very Photoshop stuff. And then when I downloaded Instagram again, I just unfollowed all of them. I was like, you know what? I want to get Instagram. I'm just going to create my page to be how I want it to be. And now I do like my Instagram. I follow great people. I just didn't want to think that I was ugly every 2.5 seconds. So that's why I deleted it. And the portrayals we saw on Instagram and TikTok, they usually depicted people with a specific body type, clear skin, and flawless features. And for many, these images can foster a sense of inadequacy when they feel like their own appearance doesn't measure up. And I'm sure you have probably felt that once in your life, probably more than once. I know for me, I definitely felt it more than once, especially in high school. You know what I'm saying? And I've read many research studies, and they do show that an exposure to these idealized images can lead to a host of mental health problems such as low self-esteem, eating disorders, depression, anxiety. Like the list goes on and on. So that's why it's really important to take all of these things seriously, whether you're affected or not. Even if you're not affected directly, I'm sure you know someone who has been affected by it. So it's really important to take these things seriously. Because if you're not affected by beauty standards, let's say maybe you fit it or you just really don't care about it, you might think that someone who does care about it is superficial, but it goes beyond that because these standards have real consequences on someone's mental well-being. According to the different studies that I read up on, body image dissatisfaction is a key factor in the development of various different eating disorders, unfortunately. And this is especially true for young women who are bombarded with these idealized images from a very, very young age. And I'm telling you, that's literally why I deleted Instagram. I think I deleted it for a year when I was in high school. Yeah, for about a year. And then once I got it back, I unfollowed all of them people because I was like, I'm not dealing with this. I kind of saw myself going down a path that I did not like. So I was like, okay, we're gonna stop this now because we don't want it to become something that I can't take care of myself. Because I don't like asking for help, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just gotta delete Instagram, delete TikTok and all that type of stuff because girl, it be a lot. And because a lot of young girls are exposed to these type of idealized images, we see a lot of them try to emulate that. They either try to emulate it, they go against it, or they feel insecure because they can't reach it. And that's just why I am against promoting filler, Botox, or any type of body modification to girls that are, I would say, under 18. My thing is that even getting surgery at 19 or 20 or 21, you're still young though. And I'm pretty positive, don't quote me, but I'm pretty positive your body goes through a second puberty in your mid-20s. So you should at least let your body fully develop before you start modifying it permanently. You know what I'm saying? And not only waiting till your body is more developed to actually get these surgeries, I think it's good to wait so your mind's also developed too. Because I definitely wanted to get a couple things done when I was younger. I was like, you know what? Let me get a little 1-2-1-2. But of course, that was not going to happen because my parents were not paying for it. They would not accept it in the first place. So yeah, I didn't do anything. So I don't know how it affects young girls who have actually gotten it at a young age. Even though they might seem happy on the outside, I don't know. I beg to differ. But I don't know if you have experience with that. Please let me know in the comments. I would actually be interested to read it. Lip filler has become extremely popular ever since Kylie Jenner talked about getting lip filler a couple years ago. And people say it's not a big deal because this procedure is temporary. So you have to keep going back to get your touch-ups every once months, I think every couple months or years, I don't know. I never got fillers, so I don't know how it works, but that's very common in a lot of young girls. And even though it is a temporary procedure, so people don't think it's a big deal, I feel like it's still sending the message of, well, we think you're ugly, so get this procedure so you're a little less ugly. You know what I'm saying? Now, there has been a lot of speculation about young girls who are either barely legal or just legal getting BBLs, which is a way more permanent and invasive procedure done on you, which is crazy though, because that procedure is expensive, first of all. And as I said, like, you go through a second puberty in your 20s, I believe. So you don't want to get that BBL now, like, at least wait, you know what I'm saying? Wait till you're a bit older. But also something too that I've heard about BBLs, I heard that you have to get 2 BBLs for it to look good. Like, if you only do it one time, like, it apparently doesn't look good, so you have to go in for a second round. Almost everyone I know who has gotten a BBL, they have gotten at least 2 rounds. So I guess there's truth to it. But unfortunately, a lot of young girls do succumb to the pressures of getting more invasive procedures like the BBL. And it is unfortunate, but all we can do is advise them not to. And that's why I got this channel, period. In fact, a 2017 survey done by Dove's Self-Esteem Project, they found that a significant portion of young women feel pressure to meet these beauty ideals, with 70% saying too much importance is placed on beauty when defining happiness. And this is alarming, not surprising though, but very alarming, given that body dissatisfaction can lead to unhealthy behaviors like restrictive eating or excessive exercise, which in turn increase the risk of developing eating disorders. But beyond eating disorders, body standards also contribute to other mental health struggles, as body dissatisfaction is strongly linked to depression and anxiety among adolescents. Research has shown that people who are dissatisfied with their bodies are more likely to experience symptoms of depression. This dissatisfaction also affects social interaction, with many people avoiding social interactions in general or just feeling isolated due to their self-consciousness about their appearance. In fact, 60% of young women report avoiding social engagement because of low self-esteem related to their bodies, and a similar percentage avoids participating in activities like sports or socializing due to body insecurities. And this is facts too, because I remember when I was younger, like, girl, we had this swimming program to help us learn how to swim when we were younger, because obviously that is an important skill to know how to do. I remember we had the program and I did not want to do it because I did not want to wear a swimsuit around these people. I was like, girl, F that. I'd rather drown.
I am under the water.
What? It's just crazy that I had that mentality at one point in my life. I'd rather not learn how to swim because I just don't want people to see me in a swimsuit. Like, it's crazy. Also, I say the word period a lot because of the city girls. Listen to their old music and you're gonna know why I keep saying period. Also, the reason why body standards matter so much is because a lot of it is rooted in biology, in evolution, and I'm not surprised. I've read a lot of papers on how the human brain is hardwired to perceive certain physical traits like facial symmetry or body proportions as indicators of health, fertility, and genetic fitness. And this influences mate selection, which was essential for survival back in the day. Everyone was just trying to find their boo back in the day, have some kids, and to survive and keep the family going. But now we are definitely in a different time period where it's not for survival, but this is an explanation that I see a lot of neuroscientists say. For example, symmetry, which is considered one of the most universally attractive feature, is seen as a sign of fertility and good health. So according to evolutionary psychology, symmetrical faces are often seen as a sign of genetic quality and developmental stability. And this is because symmetry in facial features could signal a lack of genetic or environmental stressors during development, making symmetrical individuals seem genetically fit. So basically, back in the day, people were looking for other people who looked symmetrical, who had symmetrical features, because it basically meant that they grew up in an environment that did not stress them out. So they were able to develop perfectly and be healthy. And that's why people will gravitate towards that, because they want to mate with someone, they want to procreate with someone who's also healthy, so their offspring can be healthy as well. That was the reasoning back in the day. Just like facial symmetry, the waist to hip ratio is also seen as something that is desirable. For some reason, just the look of having a small waist and big hips makes you look more fertile and more young and just healthy. I talked about the waist to hip ratio more in one of my other videos, so if you want to know more about that T in depth, I'll probably link it somewhere here. I forget what it's called, but I know I did talk about it. A low waist to hip ratio in women is seen as a sign of youth and reproductive potential, while a high waist to hip ratio in men is associated with strength and the ability ability to provide for a family. And this concept does extend to other physical traits such as clear skin, shiny hair, and even body proportions like body fat distribution. And this obviously does not apply to today because we see a lot of people who don't have these features and they have children perfectly fine. And also we evolved a lot. So the things that our ancestors had to do back in the day, we don't have to do because technology has evolved to help us have kids and to do certain stuff that, you know, they couldn't do back in the day. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that too, a lot of people don't care to have kids. So sure, evolution can explain our brains and why we think certain things are more attractive, but it's clear that these features don't signal fertility. I've seen a lot of people who don't have a small waist be able to give birth. You know what I mean? So we know that it's not all about reproductive quality anymore. Also, something that I found really interesting and I wanted to mention in today's video is that a lot of researchers believe that humans are instinctively drawn to patterns found in nature, such as fractals and the golden ratio, because they represent order, balance, and harmony. And if you don't know, fractals are patterns that repeat themselves at different scales. So imagine looking at a snowflake up close. Each small part of it has a similar shape to the whole snowflake. And the same goes for tree branches or coastline. When you zoom in on a smaller part, you can see the pattern repeating itself over and over and over again. So I just thought I would mention that so you know what I'm talking about, because girl, I did not know what a fractal was like 5 days ago. So the more you know, period. Look at us being scholars. However, just keep in mind that these preferences, while evolutionary, are often distorted or exaggerated by the media. And this creates unrealistic expectations of what constitutes beauty. And the human race has advanced so much to the point where we know these beauty standards, these body standards are capped. So evolution may explain where these body standards came from, but that is not an excuse to let it continue because we know it's capped. But let's see what you guys have to say over on Instagram. So I like to ask some questions on Instagram pertaining to my videos because it gives me some insight on what you guys think about these topics. And it's just interesting. It's nice to, you know, have a little discussion with y'all. If you want to be part of future polls, make sure you check me out on Instagram, NK's World with 2 Ds. But let me read what I asked you guys. So I asked, when it comes to body standards, do you believe evolutionary influences still play a role? So the majority of you guys feel like there is some natural influence, but that society is definitely exaggerating these features. And then 45% of you guys lean towards the middle ground and you're like, sure, maybe we are wired to notice certain traits, but society definitely dials it up a lot of notches and exaggerates it a lot, which is facts though. And the only reason why society dials it up several notches is to make money, like period. Isn't the beauty industry over like $1 billion? I don't even know how much. I know it's a lot though. I just think beauty is capitalism. The two are very much interlocked, but hey, that's just me. Then we got 24% of you guys who think that we are naturally drawn to these traits, full stop. So maybe things like symmetry and healthy appearances do capture our attention on an instinctual level, but I feel like what I'm attracted to is not based on evolution. Like, I'm just trying to think right now, like, is it? I mean, maybe, but like, not really though. Like, really, not really. Cause like, I don't look at people and be like, oh, you seem like you're a good fit to make kids with. Let's be together. Like, that's not a thought that crosses my head because F them kids. I'm just joking. We love them kids, but low key F them kids for now. And then 23% of you guys think that it's purely media and culture. No nature, all nurture. And I can definitely see this answer having a lot of truth to it because if we're being honest, the body standards keep changing and changing every 2.5 seconds. Is it really evolution? Is it really that? Or is it where we live and our environment and what we see on the television or our phone screens that make us view certain features as attractive? So that answer does have a lot of truth to it for sure. And then 8% of y'all just said you're unsure, which makes sense. Sometimes I'm unsure too. Like, I don't even know what to be thinking, you know what I'm saying? And then one of you guys swiped up to my story, so I want to read your comment. I believe it was Laviana. Hopefully I said your name right, Laviana. Anyway, so this is what she said. I don't know what you mean by evolutionary, but IG, they do play a role, even when we don't realize it. We may slowly start to want their body. This may be good or bad. Good if the influencer promotes working out, eating healthy, etc., but bad if people starve themselves to get that skinny look like an influencer who promotes it. Nothing wrong with skinny bodies, of course, but most likely, unless the influencer is about getting healthy, people tend to starve themselves for that physique. Starving for long periods is unhealthy. Your body thinks they're infamine or something like that, which makes it store the fat, leading to slow metabolism. Plus, it also weakens you. So she definitely spoke a lot of facts, and one thing that I wanted to highlight was the fact that we subconsciously, maybe not you, but some of us, we subconsciously look at celebrities, look at influencers, and subconsciously want the body that they have. I know I was low-key getting that with Megan Thee Stallion because I would always see her on my page. I follow her, you know, she's cool, so I like her, I follow her, period. And I remember thinking to myself like, oh, like maybe I should like, you know, try her workout plan, try her meal plan or whatever, because I was noticing that I wanted to have my body look like hers. But for Meg, I will say that she does promote working out. You know, she has her hot girl workout. I think she calls it hot girl boot camp or hottie boot camp, but she has her boot camp. She shows herself working out. I don't think she has a meal plan, but she has shown us the food she eats. She does promote a more healthy lifestyle. However, I don't like taking advice from celebrities who are especially rich because I don't know what y'all do. Some people have said that she has gotten a liposuction done to get her physique that she has. So we really don't know, you know what I'm saying? Celebrities can tell you to do one thing, but because they're so rich and they have too many things at their disposal, like way too many resources at their disposal, they are able to look the way they look by getting help, not just eating healthy or working out. Y'all got money. So I try not to admire them or take their advice. I'd rather take advice from like an influencer and stuff. Obviously it depends what type of influencer, because the bigger they are more likely to have more resources. I don't know, I low-key trust influencers more than celebrities. Just, you know what I'm saying? Period, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, thank you so much for participating in my polls. I have more coming up, so don't you go nowhere because I'm gonna sprinkle it throughout today's video. So to summarize this section of today's video, body standards matter because they affect us a lot. They affect our mental health, our well-being, our social interactions, and our self-worth. These standards shape how we see ourselves and are so deeply embedded into our culture that they seem like basic truths rather than subjective ideals. And this can lead y'all to questioning or critiquing your looks without really understanding why you're doing so. And they definitely do also influence social power, which is another big thing that we have going on in society, you know what I'm saying? Something I really want to ingrain into y'all heads is that the body standard is always changing, and this section is the proof you need. What we consider ideal for body shapes and appearance has shifted constantly. So we're gonna dive into 5 major periods, each with its own beauty ideals. So we'll start with the Renaissance briefly, and no, we're not talking about Beyonce's Renaissance. And then we're gonna jump into the 1920s, the flapper era. After that, the 1950s post-war, then fast forward to the 90s and the early 2000s, and finally we'll cover the 2010s up till now. So welcome to part 2, the historical context, how ideals have flipped over time. So let's start with the Renaissance period. So during this era, this was a massive cultural rebirth that ran from the 1300s to the 1600s in Italy before spreading to the rest of Europe. So think of it as the ultimate glow up for art, science, literature, and philosophy as well. This is the era that gave us a lot of important people like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, hope I said his name right, and then Raphael. And honestly, this whole period just changed the way people thought about the world. So the ideas and creativity that exploded during the Renaissance pretty much laid the foundation for what we considered modern Western culture. That's a little FYI if you did not know what I was talking about when I said Renaissance, because as I said, we are not talking about Beyonce's Renaissance. We are talking about the one that happened in Italy a long ass time ago. So anyways, in Renaissance Italy, beauty and body standards, these were not just things that women strived for. It was practically a woman's duty to achieve. Men back in the day loved to just talk about women all the time, and they would always have a bunch of debates, and they would ask questions like, what should a woman be and what's her nature? And they would just argue endlessly about everything from a woman's intelligence to her piety, and of course to how she looks, her appearance, her body, her face, all that. But if we're being honest though, men nowadays still talk like this. Those stupid ass podcasts, they still talk like this too. So even though it's been centuries ago, a lot of things haven't changed for the men. That's some tea. And it wasn't just about liking how a woman looked. They believed that it was a woman's duty to look good to keep men happy. Like what? And if a woman did not do that, she would be seen as a failure in marriage. And let's say the marriage broke up or whatever, it would be her fault because she's not doing her duty as a woman to look good to keep her man happy. Imagine that type of pressure. That is insane. Just the way they thought back in the day. Oh my God. I cannot even imagine that. That's why I say I don't like men. I mean, obviously I have a very few exceptions of who I like, and y'all know who you are, period. And especially, I'm not really gonna talk about this, but especially after the US election, the things I saw that the men were saying, it was alarming to say the least. I have no words. I would say I'm surprised, but it's a lot. So I'm not gonna say what they said just because it's quite sensitive, but I'm sure you've seen it on social media already. So I would say that I'm grateful every day that I was born in the 21st century. However, a lot of y'all are still idiots though. So it's like, yeah, it's better than it was before. So I am grateful for that. But a lot of y'all, men, are idiots. Anyways, this was just some foolishness. So I had to ask you guys on Instagram what you thought about this situation. So I asked you guys, if If beauty was seen as a duty to please men during the Renaissance era, how do you think that compares to today? So 19% said not much has changed, honestly. And this one I low-key have to agree with, because even the way the men think has not changed. Some of y'all really just be thinking that, but you don't say it. But now with these stupid ass podcast things and just like all these social media in general, we have seen a lot of young men be more comfortable with hating women. It's insane. And feeling entitled to women's appearance and their body. It's genuinely very scary. This red pill community, just the manosphere in general, it's scary, and I feel like it's like birthing a new generation of men, and it's not cute. So yeah, I would say not much has changed as well. But then 10% of you said we've come a long way in beauty independence. That's also true too. Like, two things can be true at once. We've definitely come a long way. It's very different from how it was back in the day. We have more acceptance towards women, and we don't expect women to please men with their looks. And then most of y'all said some pressures still feel the same. Fair enough. A lot of pressures, as I said, do feel the same. That's what, so maybe some pressures feel the same, not all, but also I'm still gravitating towards the first answer where you guys said not much has changed, because I low-key feel that way. I've heard many times, you know, men are physical creatures. They like seeing pretty women, pretty things. So your physical appearance is what initially attracts them, and then y'all take it from there. But I do feel like because of this, a lot of women do place a lot of importance on their looks in an attempt to attract men. And then 18% of y'all just said, I think it depends on individual choice today. That would be great, but I feel like that's not the case, but that would be ideal. So thank you guys for participating, and let's continue with this video. So the Renaissance era was very different from how it is today, where we have influencers and celebrities constantly selling us beauty through diets, cosmetics, and clothes. And believe it or not, thin was actually considered undesirable. Renaissance ideals were all about long wavy blonde hair, pale skin with rosy cheeks, dark eyes, and a fuller figure, like fleshy arms, a rounded stomach, just to look a little bit more big. And this was all about projecting health and fertility. And some of these beauty ideals during the Renaissance era were dangerous and very intense. Forget about these damn makeup tutorials. They were out here using lemon juice as hair bleach to get that blonde hair that they desired so deeply. And they also mixed different types of lotions and just concoctions to remove their body hair back in the day, which is just weird and nasty. Like, this is why I'm not surprised why they had so much disease outbreaks back in the day, because they were just doing random stuff. At the end of the day, this whole beauty ideal was written by men for men. And while men in the courts back in the Renaissance day could just exist, women had to look flawless 24/7. You had to be like, I will go like this. But the irony is that the same men who wanted these women to look good, to look flawless 24/7, they would turn around and shame women for doing too much to look good. Like, girl, what do you want? So as we can see, the Renaissance era was not cute at all. So now let's do a big leap to the 1920s, the flapper era, because I don't care to talk about the rest that are in between that. So let's get into it. So the Roaring 20s was an era of big changes and even bigger vibes. So we had a lot of people moving into the cities, the money was flowing like crazy, and we had this consumer culture take over where everyone was buying the same stuff, dancing to the same jazz tunes, and feeling the same energy coast to coast. And for the first time, we had more Americans living in the city versus living on like the outskirts or in the farm area. I remember the 1920s because I learned about it a lot when I was in high school, and I found it really interesting. I was kind of like a history geek, so hope I'm not boring you guys, but I'll make it brief. But not everyone was a fan of this fast-paced, city-centered lifestyle. Prohibition was in full effect, and if you don't know, that was basically when they banned alcohol, but it ended up not working, so they unbanned alcohol. But yeah, it was a thing. But by the end of it, the non-stop partying ended up coming to a halt anyways, because the economy was not cute no more. The economy literally tanked, and that led straight into the Great Depression, which we're not going to talk about, but yeah, it was not a cute time for them back in the day. Okay, so now that we know a little bit about the Roaring 20s, the 1920s, let's talk about the body standards that started to take effect during this time. So the body standards here took a dramatic shift, very different from the Renaissance era. This was a major shift away from the curvier hourglass figure that had been in vogue for the previous century. Women were encouraged to adopt a slim, straight, and boyish silhouette with less emphasis on curves and more focus on a leaner frame. So think slender hips, flat chest, smaller waist, everything small, everything tiny, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of women tend to wear baggier clothes around this time as well. Instead of wearing clothes to embrace their figure, they would try to hide it more and just like, you know, be free, you know, shake it off, you know what I'm saying?
Stop it.
And this is definitely my tea, because I do like, you know, the baggier fits. I like smaller fits too, like that fit my body, but I am more of a fan of like baggier fits. It just gives me that, you know, just cute. I don't know what it is, but, and even corsets, which had been used to cinch in waist and push up your boobies, they fell out of favor as women embraced looser, more comfortable clothing. So instead of showing off curves, the goal was to look as flat as possible, which actually led to the popularity of the bandeau bra, or bandeau, I think, yeah, bandeau. I'm so dumb. Bandeau bra. And it's just so crazy because imagine if you're flat in this day and age, or if you were flat during the BBL crazy era, people would make fun of you and be like, damn girl, you flat, you got nothing. So it's really crazy just to see how quickly and how drastically these body standards are changing. I really hope you're seeing all the craziness in all this. But it wasn't just about weight loss during this era, it was also about physical freedom. During this era, women were more able to express themselves freely with their bodies, and they did this by dancing. There was this popular dance called the Charleston. The Charleston, not the Carlton. Because for a second, I thought they were talking about the Carlton. I'm like, what? Y'all were doing the Carlton back in the 1920s? But no, it's the Charleston. But I do like the Carlton dance better. It has more oomph to it, you know what I'm saying? But the Charleston was cute. I can't dance, so I can't really talk, but it was cute. Also wearing short bobbed haircuts, and of course, showing some skin was the tea for women during this era. The 1920s set the stage for more relaxed, independent ideals about women's bodies, but it definitely still had its own set of narrow beauty standards that many women felt pressured to follow. I also want to mention too that the rise of jazz music and the Harlem Renaissance also influenced fashion as well, with Black culture playing a huge role in shaping the style, even though the beauty ideal still remained heavily Eurocentric. And I'd argue too that the beauty standard is still very much Eurocentric, but they definitely do be taking their bits and pieces from Black culture. But I definitely do see the Eurocentric ideal all over my page, and I especially see it with Glorilla. It got to the point where I wanted to make a full video about Glorilla because this conversation kept coming up and up and up and up again. Like every 2.5 seconds, people were talking about it. So I won't talk about her too much, but I can't tell you how many times I've seen people, and the crazy thing is that mostly coming from Black people, who are telling her to get a nose job and calling her ugly and this, the third, and that. It's really giving internalized hatred, internalized racism. Like, girl, big noses are not ugly, I promise you. So it's really annoying to see that conversation come up and up and up again. So that's why I might talk about her in a full video, but we'll see if I can make a full video on it. So yeah, in the 1920s, women's dresses, they became shorter, they became lighter, and more practical for all the activities that define the modern woman. Dancing in speakeasies, jumping in and out of cars, and just playing sports in general. So they had more flexibility and more movement with their clothing. So even if you didn't actually do all of the physical activities, there was still this huge push to look like you did all the physical activities. A lot of y'all be doing that now. And this focus of being thin and healthy also made people focus on what they're eating as well. A lot of people were dieting, and they called this thing reducing, where they would just reduce the amount of food that they're eating. And it just basically means that people were obsessing over being thin and just being slim. Medical advancements too at this time also highlighted how diet affects health, and they started promoting more lower fat diets for people, because health wasn't just about feeling good, it was also about looking healthy. But as you would expect, the new obsession with thinness definitely got out of hand. The market was flooded with diet books, reducing creams, and guides on how to help you to count your calories, and also some risky products too, like diet pills and laxatives. And even smoking was marketed as a way to lose weight, because you know, if you smoke, you tend to lose weight. Even that was a strategy for people. You can see how crazy people were to lose weight. And it's funny that smoking was conceived as a strategy to lose weight when they were trying to focus on being healthy, and smoking is literally the opposite of trying to be healthy, you know what I'm saying? So I removed the Christmas trees because I thought they were ugly. At first I thought they were cute, but now I think they're kind of ugly, so hopefully it wasn't ugly during that segment. But also, sunbathing too was popular. You know, before how they liked the pale skin, now having tan skin in the 1920s was considered the tea. You can't be black, but you can be tan. Because before, being pale meant that you were well off enough to stay indoors. So instead of laboring outside, you could stay inside and, you know, not get dark because of the sun. But now things changed in the 1920s, because in the 1920s, sports and outdoor activities were the tea, and if you could indulge in them, that means you represented health, wealth, and just leisure. And also around this time too, doctors realized the benefits of vitamin D and just getting that sun and everything. So people also wanted to be in the sun, get that vitamin D, and so as we can see, the 1920s body standards is very, very different from the Renaissance period. Because if we fast forward to the post-World War II 1950s, you can see how much the beauty standards change. Like, it's actually crazy how much it changed. Because if you were flat-chested during the 1920s, you were Gucci, you were the GOAT. But if you were flat-chested during the 1950s, I feel for you. During the 1950s, curves, having voluptuous curves, was seen as the tea. And Marilyn Monroe with her hourglass figure became the ultimate symbol for this era. Marilyn Monroe, she's basically like the OG Hollywood fashion icon. I'm sure you have heard of her at least, or at least like seen her face maybe once or twice. Kim Kardashian has worn her dress, I believe, so that put Marilyn in the spotlight again, but that was like 2 years ago. Marilyn was definitely the it girl of the 1950s. You know, she starred in a lot of classic movies and she became the definition of glamour, confidence, and sex appeal back in the day. So her career took off in the 50s with classic films like Gentlemen's Prefer Blondes and the super popular movie The 7-Year Itch. Like that movie has the famous scene where she's like wearing that white dress and she's on top of a vent and the vent pulls up her dress, like, you know, it makes her dress fly up. It was interesting what we considered iconic back in the day. Yeah, but like Marilyn, she was known for playing like lighthearted roles and playing the dumb blonde in a lot of them as well. But she actually was very smart and she wanted to be taken seriously. When I think of Marilyn, I think of Sydney, what's her name? Sydney Sweeney. Even though I feel like now she's starting to take on more roles that are more serious to expand her resume. But definitely in the beginning when she did Euphoria, I feel like people just saw her as a sex symbol, as a pretty blonde girl. So I'm glad to see her taking on different roles to not fit into that stereotype. But it wasn't just about her looks as well, because Marilyn, she had this like unique mix of innocence and boldness, which is probably why people are still fascinated by her to this day. And even now, she's everywhere in pop culture, from posters to makeup inspiration. And this proves that Marilyn wasn't just a star of the past, she's practically a legend. But despite the fame and glamour, she struggled with mental health issues, which combined with the pressures of Hollywood and maybe even some shady stuff going on behind the scenes, ultimately led to her tragic death in 1962 at just the young age of 36. Like she was extremely young when she passed away, unfortunately. And that's why I don't trust Hollywood. Like Hollywood's weird. There's too many old men, in my opinion, that hold such high, powerful positions. Like why do y'all control too much stuff? You know what I'm saying? Obviously women can be evil as well. So yeah, I don't trust Hollywood. Hollywood is a dangerous place. So yeah, I would say that the 1950s was probably one of the most notoriously toxic beauty standards so far around this time, because they glorified the contrast between a tiny waist and big hips. And that is something that's quite hard to achieve. But this hourglass figure was everywhere. Playboy embraced it, even Barbie embraced it. And Barbie are literally toys for children, for young girls. Just imagine, you're a young girl, everywhere you look, you see an hourglass figure. You know what I'm saying? So now you can associate hourglass figure as being the norm. So if you don't have an hourglass figure, that means you're weird. Because Barbie, she definitely was an icon to a lot of young girls. Also me too, I loved Barbie when I was growing up. Being white, blonde with blue eyes, I thought that was the ideal and that was the norm. So a lot of us young girls, even though Barbie was not real, we looked up to her. We thought she was beautiful and she was the epitome of gorgeousness. So unfortunately, when you have a figure like Barbie as an ideal for young girls, that's not good because a lot of us don't look like her. Some of y'all do, but a lot of us don't. But anyways, the 1950s, it wasn't just Marilyn Monroe who was considered the it girl during this time. We also had Bridget Bardot and Jane Mansfield, and they epitomized this soft figure, which came to represent the traditional femininity amid the post-war return to domesticity. Magazines around this time emphasized homemaking, and many women left their wartime jobs to focus on family, to be that perfect wife, to have that perfect figure. Like, it was all about being a good mom and a good wife. And when I think back to this time, I'm just like, free my girls, because how are y'all saying that my life duty is to be a mom, to be a wife? Like, girl, like, don't piss me off right now. That's why I gotta be happy that I wasn't born during this century or during this time, because I don't know how I'd survive. First of all, I'm black, so that's already an issue. So in the 1950s, we were past the Great Depression. People were not rationing food no more. The money was booming so that they didn't have to be more stingy with what they bought. So women naturally started to gain more weight because they could eat more. No one was rationing no food, you know what I'm saying? And this also contributed to the popularity of the hourglass figure. It was seen as more normal and better for women to have bigger figures and just be more like curvy because you looked like a mom, and also it meant that you were doing well because the economy was doing well now. Despite the curvaceous ideal, the 1950s ideal body wasn't what we'd consider plus size today. So the standards still embrace a slim physique, thin arms and legs paired with an accentuated bust and hips. So women wanted that classic bombshell figure, embodying a balance between softness and slenderness. And that's why a lot of people refer to the 1950s as the golden age of Hollywood. So just out of curiosity, I decided to ask you guys about this on Instagram. So I said, the 1950s beauty focused heavily on looking ladylike and modest. Do you think society's beauty standards today expect the same. So 17% said no, standards are more about individuality. Then 21% said yes, modesty is still valued. And then 23% said we're encouraged to look natural but not modest. Then 39%, the highest score, said we encourage semi-naked outfits. That's some tea right there. Overall, the poll results were pretty close except the last one, which is 39%. And I feel like this is a case where many things can be true at once. Which one would I say that is the most accurate in my opinion? I would say that standards are about individuality, but also we encourage semi-naked outfits. I think I would group those two together because they're like, do what you want, be free, show your booty. But of course, being free to a lot of people does not mean showing skin. But I feel like those two values have been pushed upon us like that they're the same thing, but they're not. But also it's just kind of confusing because do you actually want to show your booty, or is it because it's seen as attractive and normal to show off your shape if you have a nice shape and it's seen as desirable by men? It's kind of like a brain, I was gonna say a mind, but I don't want to swear, but I just swear. But I want to tweet one of your comments because I thought it was interesting. So this is what Consuela said in my DMs. I feel though as that yes, a lot of men say they want a modest lady who doesn't show her body to everyone and blah blah blah, but they be the first people to consume and promote naked women. They encourage modesty publicly and out loud and condone indecency in private where no one will know it's actually them. That's some tea right there, because I'm telling you, I see that. Even before, when I would talk to guys more frequently, they'd be saying one thing, but just a quick look at their Instagram following, like they're following a lot of women who have OnlyFans, who, you know, post sexually suggestive photos. So you want a lady that has never had sex before, that doesn't show her body at all, and that wears no makeup, has no artificial nails. You want them super natural, super modest, but you follow the opposite. Make it make sense. But that's another reason why I don't like men. You guys probably think that this is a hate men channel, but it's not. I don't hate men. I just don't really like a lot of y'all. That's it. But as always, thank you for your opinions on the polls. They make it super interesting. So if you want to be part of the next poll, don't forget to check me out, NK's World on Instagram with 2Ds. So anyways, after the 1950s curves, can you guess what body type became trendy again? The heroin chick era of the 1950s and the early 2000s thinness. Are you shocked? Are you surprised? Because I'm not. If you have paid attention throughout this video, we've seen a lot of flip-flopping back and forth. So the heroin chick era of the 1990s and the early 2000s was an intense moment in fashion history where extreme thinness dominated beauty ideals. And I'm sure I cannot say the actual word, I'm gonna block it out in this video, but I am talking about a drug that starts with the letter H if you are confused. So this era was rooted in an edgy, rebellious aesthetic, and this trend celebrated a look that was waif-like. It's really bizarre, but it was something that people liked. W body standards. So also having dark under eyes, pale skin, and a sharp bone structure was part of this era. So it was often depicted as a world-worn or apathetic vibe, fueled by counterculture sentiments and an anti-glamour attitude that was visually striking yet controversial and was definitely the opposite of the 1950s. It was also very different from the vibrant and healthy body image that was celebrated during the 80s. The heroin chick rejected these ideals and was the opposite. It emerged in tandem with the grunge culture by figures like Kate Moss and the photographer Corinne Day. So the look became iconic on runways, in ad campaigns, and in pop culture, reinforcing a highly unattainable thinness as not just desirable but necessary for beauty and success in fashion. Kate Moss is a British supermodel who rose to fame in the 90s, and she became an icon for redefining beauty standards in fashion. Unlike other supermodels before her like Cindy Crawford and Naomi Campbell, who were known for their tall, athletic, and glamorous looks, Kate brought something entirely different to the scene. She was much shorter than the typical model, and she had, you know, the waif-like look that people thought that was desirable during this time, and she had a slightly rebellious attitude, so this made her stand out at the time when the industry was looking for fresh, edgy faces. Kate was only discovered at the age of 14, so she was super young when she got her modeling career started. And soon after, she became the face of the heroin chick. Kate's look was everywhere, you know, on the runways, and ad campaigns, and also in editorials. Despite the controversy surrounding the unhealthy beauty standard it represented, her unique style and influence is still seen as groundbreaking. And today, Kate Moss remains a fashion legend who helped shape an entire era, proving that beauty standards are always evolving. So even though this aesthetic was highly sought after, it did face a lot of criticism because people said it was promoting drug use among the youth and just women in general. And its influence ran deep, impacting mental health and body image issues around this time, particularly for young people who were exposed to these ideals in magazines or on the TV or wherever. So as time went on, the heroin chick ideal ideal eventually faded, as all these body standards do, and now we move towards the early 2000s, where being curvy but thin was the tea. Even though the 90s heroin chick faded, its effects definitely still lingered on into the 2000s. So the 2000s curvy but thin ideal definitely was popularized by Beyonce. She was really popping around that time. Ariana as well, and Jennifer Lopez. They were slim, but they had them curves, so they were really seen as desirable around this time, and that popularized that look. They took over the 2000s. People loved them. They had millions of fans. Their music was on repeat. They were very successful, so their look contributed to their success, and they also set the stage of what body types are considered desirable in the early 2000s. The first thing that pops into my head when I think about the early 2000s look is tiny crop top and low-rise jeans. This was the tea during the early 2000s, but it was stressful because if you did not have a flat stomach, if you had a little fupa, you would be called fat, overweight, and every rude name in the book. And those low-rise jeans, they definitely accentuate it. If you have a flat stomach, we can see if it's flat. If you didn't have a flat stomach, we could see that because, you know, low-rise jeans, they don't hide nothing. Like, everything is out. I'm a high-waisted jean warrior. I love my high-waisted sweats, my high-waisted jeans. Everything has to be high-waisted, and I don't know if that's because of the trauma of the early 2000s. Girl, I was not trying to wear no low-waisted ting. And there are also movies that made this whole fixation on thinness even more real. One movie I can think of is The Devil Wears Prada. That's a very iconic movie. It has the iconic Anne Hathaway. I love her, period. Anne Hathaway had to gain 10 pounds for her fat girl role, but only to be told to lose it because apparently her wardrobe did not fit. Doesn't that make sense? But I've heard of so many actors having to gain or lose weight for roles, and I'm like, is it that healthy to do that? But I ain't no doctor, but I don't think that's healthy. Something I can also think about as well is Sex and the City. They made a big deal about one of the main characters. Her name is Samantha Jones. They made a big deal about her gaining weight because she had a fupa. I remember that scene in the movie. And if you don't know, because some of you may just not know what Sex and the City is, maybe you're too young, you're too whatever, but if you don't know, Sex and the City, it's a very iconic TV show from like the late 90s to early 2000s, and it follows four friends, Carrie, Miranda, Charlotte, and Samantha, all living in New York City. So the show is known for being super open about relationships and sex, which was pretty fresh for TV at the time. Okay, so now we understand what the beauty ideals were for the early 2000s, curvy but skinny. And it's just so funny and crazy because right after the early 2000s, we got the BBL warriors. The T was to be more voluptuous and to have more curves. I've seen a lot of BBL warriors in my lifetime, but especially when I went to Miami. I'm out here in Miami.
Get some help.
Saw a lot of BBL warriors, a lot of recovering BBLs at that place. So the 2010s saw a significant rise in cosmetic procedures, particularly in enhancing features like the lips and the hips, Brazilian butt lifts, BBLs, fueled by celebrities and their increasing acceptance of cosmetic surgery. These procedures became more accessible and even normalized as many influencers openly shared their experiences with surgery. It's not seen as a taboo thing to get surgery now, especially cosmetic surgery. It's seen as normal, dare I say. You know, people were not really hating on them. So yeah, we had a lot of BBLs. BBL Drizzy, BBL Drizzy. So I won't talk too much about the BBL warriors because I've talked about them quite a bit, so you can watch my other videos where I go into more depth on BBLs and all the type of stuff. I'm gonna link it somewhere, you know the vibes, period. But it's just crazy because now in the 2020s, we're starting to see a new shift that's moving away from the BBLs. We are currently in the era where slimmer bodies are being presented to us, and we're seeing it a lot on social media. And it's just crazy because 1 second the standard is to be thin, then to be big, then to be thin biggish, then to be big, then to, like, you know, it's like a cycle. Like, when would this cycle end? Hopefully we'll figure that out in the next section, and we're also going to talk about the current standards that we are in right now and the celebrities who influence it. So let's get into it, yeah. So the whole reason why I created this video is because I've been seeing a lot of people obsessing over the slimmer bodies that we are seeing on social media. They have a lot to say, whether it's positive or negative. In particular, I've seen people talk about Ice Spice, Megan Thee Stallion, and also Ariana Grande. And the tea is that body trends don't just pop up out of nowhere. They're heavily influenced by cultural, societal, and technological factors that shape what's considered beautiful at any given time. These days, with platforms like Instagram and TikTok fueling instant popularity, celebrities and influencers have massive power to shape these standards. So let's dive into how this happens and the bigger forces at play. Welcome to part 3, the current body standards and the cultural and social factors behind body trends. So as we've seen throughout today's video, the media and pop culture have historically been drivers of beauty ideals. ideals. Whether it's the 1950s, curviliciousness, or we had the heroin chick of the 90s, or the curvy but thin in the 2000s, the media and pop culture, they have very much influenced these beauty ideals. But now with the rise of social media and just influencers, I would say influencers, but also still celebrities, have a strong hold on the next beauty standard that will be pushed onto us, because a lot of influencers, it's in the name influencers, they influence people to buy stuff and to look a certain way. Each of them brings a unique twist that reshapes body trends, with millions trying to replicate their looks, even though these looks are usually created with a filter or some AI-ish, because you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all be editing your photos, we know it. The Kardashians and the Jenners are the faces of this whole sculpted beauty culture. Sure, there's a lot of people who do use Photoshop, but for these ladies, Photoshop has practically become part of their brand at this point. I feel like Facetune or whatever has sponsored them at one point, because it's literally part of their brand. They've had quite a bit of notorious editing fails over the last couple of years, whether it's mysteriously missing limbs or oddly warped backgrounds. The internet never misses a beat. And honestly, their slip-ups now are part of their brand. When we think of Photoshop, we think of Kim Kardashian, Kylie, and Khloe. So anyways, these ladies, especially Kim, Khloe, Kylie, they definitely push the BBL lifestyle, the BBL baddie look. Their body types literally fit into that mold, and they're pushing it on people. And especially because they're white, they were seen as cool and just trendy because they fit into a stereotype that, I did stereotype, it's a stereotype. I don't know why I did that, but they fit into a stereotype that people have placed on Black women, but because they're white, it was seen as cool. Y'all see what they did, and it worked. So they have embraced this BBL baddie lifestyle, the BBL body. You know, they all had very big bundas until recently though. A lot of people have noticed that these ladies have reduced their bodies, they reduced their booties. And this is something that a lot of us have noticed, because they literally made their brand on beauty and just looking good, especially Kim, and B, because they are a white woman, as I said. So typically we associate big butts to Black women. So when we see a white woman with a big butt, people are like, oh my God, damn. They don't know how to act. It's stupid, but they don't know how to act. And that's exactly what happened with the Kardashian sisters. But it's definitely wild how these shifts happen, especially because their curvy look didn't just boost their fame. It literally built empires. Because we can't overlook how they were able to capitalize on all of these things. They sold us beauty products, they sold us lip kits, contour kits, jeans, shapewear, waist trainers, you name it. They literally monetized every trend that they created. They've managed to make millions, always keeping us interested in whatever their new look is. However, I will say though that I do feel like people are not as fascinated by the Kardashians, just because surgery is accessible to a lot of people, and being a white woman with a big butt is not seen as exotic as it once was back in the day. People just know more about them. But yeah, that's their tea on them. So moving on from them, I want to talk about Megan Thee Stallion a little bit, because she also inspired this video. So Megan Thee Stallion, she's an American rapper. She's been popping a lot this year, especially with that song. She was popping with that song. So you probably know her, you probably have heard of her, but she's quite successful. She's doing well for herself, period. She's from Houston, H-Town. So anyways, earlier this year or last year-ish, Megan, she popped back into the mainstream with a more slim physique, and this was after the whole Tory Lanez shooting trial situation. Just to briefly summarize, Tory Lanez, he's another artist as well. He's a Canadian rapper, or I don't know what to call him. I'm gonna call him a rapper. And he was with Megan Thee Stallion one night. They were coming back from Kylie Jenner's birthday party, got in an argument. Tory Lanez shot Megan in the foot, and then they went to trial. So now Tory's behind bars, period. And after the whole trial, Megan kept a low profile. So we didn't really see her too much. She wasn't posting. You know, she was just taking time for herself. And then boom, she popped back up on Instagram, and she looked different. She looked very good. She looked slim, more like toned, and people were like, wow, Megan, you look great. She was really doing her thing, and people were eager to support her because she had received a lot of hate from people during the Tory Lanez situation. A lot of people were fake, just weird, and switched up on her. But yeah, a lot of us wanted to help support her and help her basically, and we were trying to lift her up. I know I was too, because there's a lot of weirdos just being weird. So she was just focused on her health, and she was posting a lot of fitness videos of her working out and also the food that she was eating. And to me, that's not really bad in my opinion, because she was at least promoting a more healthy lifestyle, eating well, working out, taking care of yourself. That's what she was promoting. So that's why I don't really have a problem with her doing what she's doing. Even in one of her Nike videos, because I'm pretty sure she has a collab with Nike, she was talking about her journey, and she said that, I know I make it look so easy, but this didn't happen overnight. Like, she's out here clocking 5 hours a week in training, mixing in dance rehearsals, and also taking her workouts very seriously, even while touring and performing. That's a lot of movement. This girl is always active, and that explains why she lost quite a bit of weight, because she's always moving. She's very fit, and that's why she got the Meganese. Meganese. Sounds like Japanese. And she also has a personal trainer as well, so that definitely helps a lot. And her trainer is crazy, like he really be pushing her, even for her core workouts. You know, they be doing boxing, suspended crunches, and squats with bands. And also when it's time to plank, they throw in a vibrating platform and weights for each leg. So it's not no regular plank. This is some heavy duty planking. But I really do applaud her for being able to do all of that, because forcing yourself to work out is a lot of work. Because personally for me, I just care about being strong enough to carry my carry-on luggage and put it in the overhead. That's what I care about. And also being able to defend myself against a man. If one of you try me, don't try NK. I want to be able to give you a little pow pow. So that's what I care about. Health and just be not a weakling. So even though Megan is doing great, she looks good and it's inspiring, I don't like to take advice from celebrities. I think I've said this before, like I just don't trust y'all. Y'all are too rich. Y'all have too much things at your disposal. I don't trust it. And on top of that, these pictures that they post are heavily edited. I don't know if it's just me, but looking at Megan Thee Stallion's recent post on Instagram, she be looking like an AI character. Like, is it just me? Like, I'm like, girl, you better fire your Photoshopper because they be editing you way too much. You look like an AI character. What's going on? But you know what? That's besides the point. I'm just saying, in the end of the day, these celebs are rich and they have money. Don't be idolizing their bodies because A, they edit their bodies, B, they have a lot of resources, and who knows, maybe she did do liposuction to help her lose weight in the first place. So we really don't know. So that's why I don't trust them. I've also seen quite a bit of comments talk about her butt. They say that she lost her booty. Her booty is too small now. I've seen those type of comments, but I've mostly seen those comments directed at Ice Spice. Ice Spice is another female rapper coming from the Bronx, I'm pretty sure. She's Ice from the block. But anyways, Ice Spice as well, she has also recently lost weight. And I first noticed that she looked slimmer at the BET 2024 awards. I was like, oh, because she posted a picture of herself and I was like, oh, she looks, you know, noticeably slimmer. So her looks have always been a hot topic because a lot of people question if she did not look the way she looks, would she be famous? Would she have a career? And that's a valid question to ask, because if you look at the material, if you look at her resume, if you listen to her music, I'd be wondering the same thing too. Because let's keep it a stack, Ice Spice is definitely not the most lyrically talented rapper out there, but she has the right look and the right team behind her to succeed. I have a whole video breaking down her career and the way she's marketed, so make sure you check out that video, you know, after you watch this video, of course, duh. But it's clear that she's capitalizing on what works, and that's how you play the game. She's a light-skinned girl, she's pretty, she has a booty. Like, of course she's gonna succeed. Like, that's what the industry is pushing. We can't ignore how much these factors play into who gets pushed forward, especially in music and the entertainment industry. The industry knows this look sells and they're gonna keep on pushing it as long as it does. And it's wild to see that these same standards keep showing up over and over again, with different people getting hyped for basically fitting the current trend. It's like a never-ending cycle, and Ice Spice is just the latest example of it. And there's also this talk that Ice Spice might be on ozempic that's helping her lose weight. This accusation came from random people on the internet, but also her ex-friend Cleo Trappa said that she's on ozempic, so take that as you will. But another comment I'm seeing on Ice Spice's body is her booty. A lot of people, and I mostly see this on Twitter, actually Instagram too, and it's mostly men as well, but they're saying that she lost her booty. They're like, she doesn't have no booty anymore, she's too skinny, da da da. Like, that's their takeaway from Ice Spice's weight loss. And I will say though that Ice Spice herself does lean into that with her music and her image. A lot of her poses are of her butt. She's always twerking. She has a song literally called Fat Butt. So it is part of her brand for sure. It's not surprising that the men are commenting on that, but they're also, I just don't like men. So I'm just like, no, you know what I'm saying? Also, the crazier part too is that men were really only checking for her because of how she looked. Now a lot of them are like, they can't even look at her anymore, or they can't watch her because she doesn't have a booty, a big booty. It's just crazy to me that one can really build a career based on their butt. How did we become this obsessed with butts? Where did we go wrong in society to have such an infatuation with booties? It's just a butt. I still see a lot of people who aspire to look like her, and just seeing, you know, the Kardashians lose weight, seeing Ice Spice lose weight, seeing Megan Thee Stallion lose weight. A lot of people are wanting to become slimmer now because that is the body type that we are seeing presented to us. It's kind of reminiscent of the 2000s curvy but thin, because I will say that they still have curves, but they're slimming down. I don't know if as the years go, we're gonna end up going back to the 90s thin, but you never know with these body standards. Someone too that I wanted to mention as well, because I see her being brought up a lot in this discussion, is Ariana Grande. I want to put a trigger warning for this part of the video, even though it's going to be very brief, but when I was doing research, I saw a lot of people say that it was triggering to see Ariana Grande and see pictures of her because in the past they had eating disorders. So I just want to mention that, but the conversation about Ariana will be pretty brief. So I feel like I don't need to introduce Ariana because she is very famous. She's an American singer. She's Gucci, she be slaying. She has good music too, and she has an amazing voice, and she's also starring in the film Wicked, which is coming out this month actually. Because of this new movie that's coming out, she has been very active online, and she's been doing a lot of press tours on red carpet, so people are seeing her more than usual, and people have been commenting on her body and her looks because she does look different than she used to a couple years ago. So Ariana has always been a slim person, but recently people have noticed that she looks even slimmer than usual. This has definitely raised some concerns, especially since fans have been questioning her health and speculating about her potential struggles with eating disorders. So Ariana actually has addressed this last year in a TikTok video, and she was saying that the body that fans are comparing her current look to, the one that people were referring to as healthy. So basically a lot of fans were saying that before she looked healthy, but now she doesn't. But she's saying that her body before that people considered healthy wasn't healthy. She said that time she was at her lowest point, and she opened up about how she was struggling with depression, taking antidepressants, drinking, and not taking care of herself properly. So in other words, she wasn't healthy at all during that time. That's what she said. And while some people do support her and respect her vulnerability and being honest, a lot of people were not really buying it. They didn't necessarily believe that her current look is healthy, no matter what she's saying. I did see on Reddit some people who have had eating disorders before, EDs. Some people felt like she was trying to make us think that she's healthy, but she's not, and they think that she has an ED. This sparked a lot of debate, and it still sparks a lot of debate to this day. I don't necessarily think the comments do help. I do know a lot of people are coming from a place of love though, and they're just genuinely concerned about her. So that's valid though. I can't hate on them for being actually genuinely concerned about her looks, but it's unfortunate, but this is the reality that's happening right now. And I just hope that Ariana and anyone out there who's struggling with this can get the help that they need, because I know it's not an easy thing to go through, of course. But the biggest takeaway I want you to remember from this video is that these body standards are never stagnant. They are always moving, and that there's no one perfect or ideal body that we should aim to have. And it's really important to remember that these body trends, they're not about what's the healthiest for you. They're about what's currently trending in society at the moment. So just remember that. So don't let these constant changes make you feel like you're not beautiful, and don't feel the need to adapt to whatever's trending. Because boy, I'm telling you, I saw a lot of comments about people wanting to be thin again because of all the celebrities that we're seeing showing off their slim physiques. Like, I really just want to ingrain it into your brain cell. Like, you really don't need to be chasing these standards because they're going to change the next 2 seconds. Trust me. So thank you so much for making it till the end of today's video. I really do appreciate you, and I hope you took a lot of notes on what I was saying, and I hope it does help someone out there. You can watch my other videos that are similar to this topic because it's a big topic. We got to talk about it. And yes, I will catch you in my next video. So make sure you watch another video. I'll beat you up. I'm joking. I'm not. Anyways, bye. Why are you still here? You should be watching another video. Girl, time is ticking. Girl, hello. Watch another video. I'm waiting.